YouTube's in trouble. They're announcing changes to the algorithm. They're going to ban conspiracy videos. I'm alarmed by this. And so this is first and foremost, okay, before we jump into the news about what YouTube is changing and why these social networks are like, serious, this bad stuff, it is. This is Minds. This is what you're looking at, minds.com. You can see this little light bulb up here. That's a little light bulb I got down here because I don't want to be promoting Twitter anymore, right? I wanted people to follow me on Twitter. I don't anymore. I want them to follow me on Minds. And full disclosure, I'm going to be doing content with Minds in like we're doing an event thing, trying to get like elevated conversations, right? So Twitter is a feud. It's constant bickering. And I've been using Minds consistently for a while now. And so I'm going to be focusing more on this to the best of my abilities because Twitter is trash. But more importantly, I just wanted to, there it is. You can follow me, minds.com/Timcast. This is the problem, and this is why I'm doing this right now and saying I am on Minds. YouTube tweaks algorithm to stop recommending conspiracy videos. Now you might be saying, Tim, your content is rather tepid. You're a centrist who fails to take the opinion I want you to take on the certain content and stories. Yes, but here's the thing. Who determines whether or not something is a conspiracy video? Let's take a look at the story, and then I'm going to break down just how damning and dangerous this could really be for everybody. YouTube wants to make sure it doesn't recommend 9/11 conspiracy theories to unsuspecting viewers anymore. The Google-owned video service is tweaking its recommendation algorithms to stop recommending borderline content and content that could misinform users in harmful ways, it said in a blog post Friday. Some of the videos affected by the algorithm change include videos promoting phony miracle cure for serious illness. Right? It sounds good, right? Claiming the earth is flat. It sounds good. Or making blatantly false claims about historic events like 9/11. Those videos don't necessarily violate YouTube's terms of use, which means the site won't remove them. Users will be able to still find any content identified as borderline via search and on the channels publishing that kind of content. This move, okay, we got to read about the next criticism. BuzzFeed's involved. Listen, YouTube should not be in the business of determining what is or is not true. I made a video contradicting the Associated Press. I got a guideline strike and the video was removed for bullying. A day later, the AP issued a correction. A day after that, YouTube removed the strike from my channel. Point is, I don't know if YouTube removed it because I thought it was fake news or something. The point is, YouTube will eventually remove breaking news because it wasn't approved by CNN. YouTube should not be in the business of determining what is or is not factually true, okay? Now, YouTube is essentially acting as an editor. Who are they going to hire, okay? We know that they've worked with like the Southern Poverty Law Center. This is just straight up bad news. Now, here's where BuzzFeed gets involved. This move comes after repeated reports of YouTube adding conspiracy videos and or other harmful content to autoplay cues and homepage recommendations. On Thursday, BuzzFeed published an extensive investigation showing that mainstream news content was often followed by recommendations for anti-immigrant propaganda and conspiracy videos. So what? Does that mean we're only allowed to watch CNN? This is what is so disconcerting to me. I make news content. I was right about the MAGA kids story. I was right about many stories the mainstream media got wrong. It's why people watch my main channel for the most part. My second channel is me ranting about things, don't get me wrong. The point is, I say the point is, and don't get me wrong too much. I'll try to stop. Anyway, there will come a time when someone breaks a massive story and chooses to do it on YouTube. That is good for you, YouTube. If you start banning certain channels or accounts because they don't align with the mainstream narrative, you are only hindering yourself. Now listen, phony miracle cures, bad news. Flat Earth, bad news. False claims about 9/11, also bad news. I am no fan of any of these conspiracy theories. But I think the power of YouTube is that people are allowed to talk about what they want to talk about. Is YouTube going to determine that certain religious ideas are not acceptable because historians disagree with them? Think about the issue here. Earth is flat. Okay, I think that's ridiculous. But what are they going to... imagine this. People who are Christian, who are Muslim, who are Jewish, believe the earth is only several thousand years old. Not all of them, but many of them do, because the Bible basically says as such, basically. Well, scientists disagree. They believe that carbon dating says the earth is much, much older than that. I believe the scientific community. I am not a religious person. I also am not going to tell a religious person what they can or cannot believe. If someone makes a video saying, I'm going to explain to you why the Earth is only 5,000 years old, is YouTube going to remove that recommendation because, like Flat Earth, it's just proven false by the science community? This is dangerous to free expression. YouTube, you cannot be in the business of determining what people are allowed to believe. Flat Earth is ridiculous. You have every right to think it's true. If YouTube gets in this business, they will come to a point of actually suppressing religious content as well. What if you don't believe in evolution? Fox News ran a segment like a few weeks ago where they said evolution wasn't true. I absolutely disagree with that. I think it's wrong, and I think it's irresponsible, but I also think they have freedom of expression, speech, and religion in this country. This is extremely worrying to me, especially when BuzzFeed published their investigation and didn't use the data set we have. Listen, people on the left and the right have looked at that data set from Mark Ledwich. Okay, it's fantastic data, not perfect. But it disproves this narrative of extremism. It disproves it. Just because you went on YouTube and you were recommended this thing doesn't prove any of your points. You need a neutral data set that looks at the algorithm as a whole, and only YouTube knows how that works. The algorithm, as we understand it today, is neutral. It doesn't care for left or right. It cares about subject matter. If conservatives overwhelmingly talk about, immigration, you will be much more likely, it is much more likely to be recommended content from right-wing sources because they talk about it more. If there are 10 channels, 5 are right-wing, 5 are left-wing, okay? All 5 right-wing channels talk about immigration, and all 5 left-wing channels talk about the Russia investigation. That means if you search border wall, all of your recommendations will be from conservative channels because the left isn't talking about it. Plain and simple. It is not the algorithm's fault. This is terrifying. And I think BuzzFeed got that one wrong. It wasn't that bad, actually, because I'll point out this too. The YouTube algorithm has been feeding kids Hitler and the Hulk dancing together while this really awfully recorded children's song was made by an Indian guy. Yeah, the algorithm does get things wrong because it's neutral. YouTube likened these new tweaks to previous changes to its algorithms, which at one point heavily favored so-called reaction videos, clickbait content designed to respond to popular videos without actually adding anything to the discussion. We responded by updating our system to focus on viewer satisfaction instead of views, including measures like dislikes, surveys, and time well spent, all while recommending clickbait videos less often, YouTube said in its blog post Friday. YouTube's new changes against conspiracy content will affect less than 1% of the content hosted on the service, and the service is initially just rolling out these changes in the US. However, YouTube wants to eventually bring the changes to other countries as well. Less than 1%. Right. You know why? Because 99% of YouTube are accounts with no subscribers. The people who actually produce content make up only 1% of the site. So yes, it'll affect less than 1% of the content hosted on the service because most people hosting content don't have channels. It's like, okay, listen, something like, I think 80% of YouTube accounts upload a video of their cat falling off a table and then never come back. It's like 80%. One-off videos people host. Core creators who make a living off this are about 1%. I'm giving you an estimate, I don't know the actual number. So when they say less than 1%, sure, it sounds fine. But then you realize there are prominent channels that produce news independently outside of the mainstream that are going to be impacted by this. So this is why I point directly to Minds. Look, full disclosure, I am going to be working with Minds on events. So let me say it this way. The reason I am going to be working with Minds specifically is because of these things we keep seeing at YouTube. I'm not going to stop making YouTube videos. I'm just pointing out there may come a time where you stop getting notifications, where YouTube stops recommending my videos, and thus I think it's very important to diversify where I position myself. One of the reasons I focus so heavily on Minds, because people have asked, they say, why not Gab? Listen, Gab is admittedly they're facing a ton of pressure, and I don't want to be associated with the kind of people that the media is associated with them with, and they have a higher percentage of certain types of political extremism on their platform that I'm not okay with. Okay? Minds has a balance. What's important to me is a few things. Can they balance their user base? Gab hasn't been able to do that, unfortunately. I'm not trying to be make disrespect to Gab in any way. I just don't think they've been effective at courting left and right. That can lead to problems, for sure, but Minds does have left-wing personalities active on the platform, and they're actively working, encouraging this, which says to me, Minds has a much higher likelihood of success. Again, I'm not trying to be overly disrespectful to Gab. The point I'm trying to make is I can only be on so many platforms. I am still using Twitter, I am still using Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, though Instagram not that much. Adding another social network is difficult, but Minds I have used consistently more than any other platform. They have a more spread out base between for political reasons, and they're actively trying to produce elevated conversations and bring people from left and right together in, I don't know exactly what their plan is, but there's going to be some events that can bring people together, and I'm hoping. So essentially, that's why I'm using Minds. More importantly, when it came to the beginning of Minds and other platforms, because there's BitChute too, I've got 48,918 followers on Minds. That's more than any of these other platforms, and so I just dedicated myself to using Minds. The other thing too is they have a token system. They have their own cryptocurrency. So by using the platform, you generate crypto, which you can use to promote your posts. So the other issue is for newer creators, you can actually, it's easier to start a channel on Minds than on any other platform. It's obvious that the ceiling for YouTube is much higher, right? It's like you could have 10 million subs and still be growing. Minds is admittedly much smaller, but it's easier to get started. So if, that's why whatever. The point I'm trying to make is I'm trying to diversify because this news terrifies me. Conspiracy videos, by whose standard, okay? There are a lot of people who believe the earth is flat, who believe 9/11 was an inside job, whatever. I disagree with them. But what happens when CNN goes on TV and says Trump did X? Who determines whether or not that's true? CNN? Sorry, that's terrifying. It really is. So BitChute, I am active on, and but only because it archives my videos. So that's a heads up. That's basically it. I mean, this stuff is worrisome, but it's alert, I guess I should say. So the point of this is you can subscribe here. You can subscribe to my main channel, but go to minds.com/timcast and follow me there. Because I'm going to be more active there. I'm slowly going to be trying to get off Twitter and more active on Minds because Twitter is biased and trash, and YouTube I do think YouTube has done a decent job for the most part. Like, they've done things wrong for sure, but they allow certain speech that other channels don't. But this is worrisome. I don't think YouTube's going anywhere. I'm not going to stop making YouTube content. I just want to make sure I'm more like, listen, I have 2 channels on YouTube for a reason, in case one gets shuttered, and I have on Minds in case Twitter, Facebook, or anything else. So there you have it. I don't know. That kind of freaked me out when I saw that, but here, I don't want to rant too much. Stick around. I got one more video coming up in just a few minutes, and I'll see you then.